The country of Patria is currently experiencing a civil war. The south side appears to be losing until a group of special soldiers in white enters. They transform into beasts and slaughter the enemies. So easy. Should have arrived earlier and saved their side the casualties. These soldiers who can transform are called Incarnates and led by Hank Henriette as well as his childhood friends, Cain Madhouse and Elaine Blue Lake. It isn't all sunshine and roses being an incarnate, as they have side effects, especially those blemishes on their body. But Elaine is working hard to find a cure, and close-knit group bond very well together. I'm sure everyone is interested in the budding romance between Hank and Elaine, but there's a war going on, so the Incarnates notch up victories after victories, until one day one of them just go berserk and started killing friend and foe. He claims he wasn't himself in that state, and to stop such future atrocities, he kills himself. With everyone being depressed and scared, Hank makes a vow to all of his men. If any one of them should go berserk like that, they should be the ones to stop it. As the war rages on, more casualties and more incarnates also start to bite the dust. To lift his men's gloom, Hank announces he will propose to Elaine once this war is over. Later that night, as Hank talks to Elaine, he is told there has been a secret peace treaty signed between the countries. Hence, tomorrow's decisive big war may not even happen. However, for incarnates, they will have no peace. Hence, Elaine pulls the gun and shoots Hank. She is in cohorts with Cain. She blames herself for finding a cure because eventually all incarnates will lose their mind and soul, and she will put a stop to that. She shot him because she knew he will stop her. The plan for Elaine and Cain is to kill all incarnates before killing themselves. However, Cain betrays and shoots Elaine. This was the last thing Hank sees before passing out. When he wakes up, he is in hospital, and Lisa Renekessel from the military's intelligence says he finally woke up after 2 months. She explains they found him on the verge of death while Elaine has been missing. The war has ended, and incarnates were told by Cain to go wherever they want. However, they lost their minds and went on a rampage. Once considered as gods, they are now feared by people. Hank is so mad at hearing all this that he clenches his fist so hard it starts bleeding. Hence, Hank is now on a mission, going around to kill his ex-comrades. Nancy Shaw Bancroft lives with her father, William, in a small town. They run an orphanage and they are very much happy living this life. William teaches her to hunt the first time, but WTF, he brought along all the orphanage kids too. Shaw fails as the deer runs away. Don't worry, you'll pull the trigger when you're ready. One day, soldiers come to visit the orphanage. It seems William is being enlisted. Despite not being a soldier, he is selected because he is special. Shaw doesn't want him to go and doesn't care if they don't have much food as long as they are together. William reasons he goes to war not for the money but so that the kids can have a better future. He has the power to stop this war. He left, and when the war is over, he returned, but as a huge dragon. Is it him? Yes, those eyes. And so their fun days return. Not many towns can have a giant dragon, no. But it all starts going downhill when William showed signs of randomly going berserk. The villagers worried his is now only killing their cows, so for the safety of the children, the orphanage kids are transferred away. Shaw is left behind. But one night she heard a commotion and she saw Hank killed her father in cold-blooded fashion. Angered by this unreasonable death, she hunts down this man until she finds him in some western cowboy town salon. Immediately she shoots him, but despite hitting directly into his chest, he still lives. Before she could get any explanation, Hank goes pay a visit to a returning incarnate. Daniel Price has been killing travelers for their money so that he could give it to his mom and people. Shaw gets in the way and questions Hank's decision to kill him, but Daniel goes berserk. Hank defeats him and reluctantly kills him with a special bullet. Shaw is shocked to see all this and demands answers. Because Hank won't answer, she will travel with him to see for herself what he does and why her father had to die. In this next gloomy town, Hank rendezvous with Lisa. Oh Shaw, don't let those boobs intimidate you. This town is being ruled by a minotaur, Aka Theodore Sherman. He has been building a fortress from the town's materials and giving a daily reminder to his townspeople to be vigilante about the enemy. He thinks the war isn't over yet. So Shaw thinks they can reason and talk to the incarnate. Girl, if talking was so easy, wars wouldn't have happened in the first place. That night, Shaw follows Hank into Theodore's fortress. Promise you won't get in the way. Yeah, seeing all the dead guards who tried to storm into the place but got killed by the traps, she almost got killed by a trap she clumsily activated herself. Stay close. She asks him more about Theodore, so Hank relates how this guy was a coward. But it is thanks to Hank advising him to always be prepared that somewhat calmed his nerves. Hank leaves Shaw behind to go deeper. Normally it is Lisa's job to bring her back, but since she is so stubborn and wanting to see what Hank does, Lisa lets her go. Yeah, the girls want to see some action too. Hank faces with Theodore, who claims the enemy might strike when they least expect it. That's why he keeps building this fortress and traps. But the irony, the more he builds, he doesn't feel a bit safer. Hank then plays the enemy just to make him fight. Now, if you're wondering what kind of incarnate Hank is, well, he is so special that his powers only activate at night. Yep, he is a werewolf. Eventually Hank brings down Theodore. Because he is told he is going to die, suddenly he doesn't feel the need to be scared anymore. Hank kills him as Shaw ponders what were Father's last words to Hank then. Meanwhile, we see other incarnates being hunted by an extermination squad known as Coup de Grace led by Claude Withers. And Cain is like some Dracula dude with the company of a lowly and awaiting Hank's next move. Hank and Shaw ride the train that crosses the Iron Bridge. It is the symbol of peace between both North and South. We interrupt this train ride because Lisa needs Hank to come over right now. It seems the behemoth has been moving faster than expected, and at this rate he will crash into the bridge. Because of the behemoth's healing factor, old wounds heal and it will become harder to kill him. So he's like an immortal. Hank's solution: damage him on the side that doesn't receive much attacks. That did the trick to bring him down. And do those puny hooks able to hold this behemoth down? Shaw thinks there is hope when Lisa explains that the behemoth has not killed anybody and went all out to avoid dense areas. All soldiers wounded were not directly hurt by his attacks. This means there is still some humanity in him. Shaw tries to talk to the behemoth and convince him to turn around. I don't think he can hear you. Meanwhile, the railroad owner is angry the military hasn't killed the behemoth yet. He is impatient they are going to use explosives on the cliff to kill the monster instead of the monster himself. You bet they're going to take things into their own hands. Shaw asks Hank about the behemoth. Well, Arthur Alston is a man of few words. Doesn't speak much. Period. Yeah, not even Hank knows a lot about this guy. But maybe he knows what this guy wants. For the umpteenth time, Hank has to put up with Shaw's naivety of not wanting this beast to be killed. Still hope? Huh? Not much different than us? Huh? That night, can you believe it that bandits knock out a few military guys to try and kill the behemoth? WTF. This angers the behemoth as he breaks free as he squashes the bandits and inches closer to the bridge. Hank fights him, and he must be some strong werewolf to even try to hold back a behemoth. A few well-timed explosions has the behemoth's guts spill open. Still he is inching closer, and then a final strategically timed explosion over the cliff. It reveals a sunrise over the ocean. Yup, that's what Arthur wants, to see the ocean before he dies. So happy he can just die. Just like that. Lisa has information about Cain's whereabouts. Hearing that name just makes Hank's blood boil. Arriving at Whitekirch, despite this lawless town having high crime and murder rates, it is believed Cain has been killing its citizens. They go around asking citizens, but they refuse to cooperate. With Shaw sewing back that small bullet she put in Hank's coat, was this enough to let him tell her his bad blood with Cain? That night, another corpse is found and hung out in public. However, Hank believes from the wounds, Cain could not have done this, but the gargoyle aka Christopher Keynes, who had a strong sense of justice. A boy named Andy was the only witness to this murder, but nobody believes him. Only Hank. When Lisa wants to ask more questions, Andy naughtily strips open her shirt and runs. This is what you get for being so tempting. Shaw goes after him and learns that Andy has a grudge against the gargoyle because he killed his mom. Sure, Mom tried to steal something, but it wasn't something she needed to die for. Shaw catches Andy in the act of stealing, but the gargoyle sees this and will serve justice by killing him. Shaw is also deemed a sinner since she tries to protect Andy. When the gargoyle attacks, Shaw couldn't pull the trigger. If not for Hank, they would have been goners. Viewing his captain as also a sinner, he invites him to the abandoned church where they will settle things. Later, Cain visits the gargoyle and gives him a special bullet. It can take away an incarnate's abilities or kill, depending how you use it. That night, Hank goes to face off with Christopher, more spouting of his version of justice. That's why he came to this town, to cleanse people of their sins. At first he tried talking, but naturally people freaked out and attacked, so he had no choice but to kill. Ever since, he believed death is the justice he must bring. Hank is shot in the gut by the special bullet and loses his powers. Meanwhile, Shaw is thinking if her pity was the reason she couldn't pull the trigger. Then she realizes her rifle is missing. Oh no, don't tell me Andy took it. WTF, the gun was right next to her and she didn't notice he took it. At least Andy got the balls to shoot the gargoyle even if he missed. Andy almost gets killed. Shaw tries to protect him. Could have been goners again had not Hank somewhat power up to rip out the bullet and do in the gargoyle. Even till his last breath he still thinks he is justice. Bang. In the aftermath, Cain shows up to invite Hank to a certain place. Please come if you want to rescue Shaw. Unfortunately, Hank is so weakened that his fury didn't power him up this time. Just blacked out. Negliglia is fascinated with Shaw because of her blue eyes. Arachnaka Elizabeth Weezer explains to Shaw that she is just bait to lure Hank in. Claude and Lisa examine the bodies of victims of the gargoyle. However, there is one body that doesn't share the same scratch marks but devoured all over. This body belongs to one of the wealthiest men in town. His wife also died but with unknown reasons. Upon examining closer, Claude sees vampire teeth bites. He knows this is Cain's doing. He controlled the wife to kill the husband. He orders his men to gear up and get ready for battle. Hank attends this lavish party hosted by Cain. He begins by praising other attendees for sharing his vision. Some history about the civil war that stemmed because of some minerals they were fighting over. When the South tried to establish trade relations with other countries, the North attacked. Hence the economy collapsed and the government using the excuse to steal their fortunes. Then when the war ended, they lost their chance to regain their fortune. Hence Cain is going to make a new order, and with their contributions, they can continue the war and lead to victory. He ushers in a few new Incarnates, and then Cain has the Incarnates kill all of them. Thanks for your contributions, but you're no longer useful. Hank begins his assault, and at the same time Claude and his military too bust in with their weird steampunk gear to fight the Incarnates. It seems Claude is Cain's little brother and wants to stop his madness. Can he? Cain doesn't share Elaine's view that they must all die just because they lose their humanity. Incarnate souls might change, but they aren't lost. They will exist how their hearts decide. In fact, it is Incarnates who risk their lives for greedy humans. Who is more human? With Cain getting pierced, stabbed, and exploded, you wonder why the final last boss is so easily killed. He's not. Turns out because he is a vampire, he regenerates. Damn, how do you kill an immortal? Hank rejects Cain's offer to join him in a new order, thinking that something is shackling him down. This is where Cain will get rid of it and shoots Shaul. Can one die immediately when shot in the guts? With Shaul's death mirroring Elaine's death, this causes Hank to undergo trauma and extreme transformation. A giant wolf that is supposedly the king of beasts. Hank loses his sanity and goes on a rampage. Yeah, he sure left a huge destructive mark on town. Hank's missing. Cain's missing. Shaul might still be breathing. Cain and his Incarnates have gathered enough humans to form a military. Even some disgruntled nobles have joined them in their cause to create a new independent nation of New Patria. As they make their base in the undeveloped West and gaining allies from other cities, the North is preparing for war. And how are they doing it? Kill all Incarnates in their region to avoid them from joining this new terror. Yeah, and not surprising, Shaul is alive and returns to her village. It seems the dress she wore was made out of special Incarnates material, and after she had surgery done, she was interrogated. Hank has been stripped of his military rank and is now a wanted man. Soon, Lisa and Claude come to her village. They hear rumors of an Incarnate roaming in the mountains. Can Shaul just easily follow them like that? No harm, right? And then it turns out the Incarnate is the dragon. I thought he was dead. Oh, looks like he is in zombie mode. Apparently nobody burns the bodies of dead Incarnates but bury them. How the FCK did they bury such a huge monster? Anyway, with the dragon attacking, can their pea shooter do anything? Oh wait, the dragon retreats. So while they prepare for better firepower, Shaul talks about her father. Lisa's so sympathetic she gives her those special bullets. Yeah, it'll help somehow. Next time they trap and attack the dragon, looks like it starts flying towards the village. Lisa and Shaul try to warn the villagers, but they don't believe. You mean they didn't hear the loud attacking noises from the mountains? Too late. Dragon's here. Run. Shaul comes face to face with her father. Now she understands why Hank did what he had to do. This time it is her turn to pull the trigger. Maybe this thing needs more than a bullet to bring it down. Eventually, the last bullet into his heart, you can say Shaul somewhat said goodbye to her father. Yeah, the communication is in the eyes thingy, so go figure. And now Shaul wants to follow coup de grace around so she could find Hank. He easily allows her. Don't tell me he has a thing for her. Claude's men are stopping at a seaside town to stock supplies. Shaul stumbles upon a singing siren, Beatrice singing alone in the cave. Her only company is Charles, a bar owner who once let her sing on his stage. Shaul becomes friends with her as she reveals how the people loved her singing. But when war broke out, her songs no longer bring comfort. She was drafted, but after the war ended, she realized nobody wanted to hear a monster singing. Her days were numbered. There is no point in living if she can't sing. Shaul tries to cheer her up as she makes frequent visits, but too often that Claude even has his suspicions. Cue for him to talk about his mission to kill Cain because he betrayed everyone in the family. Oh yeah, he's also taking down Hank. One day, men come into Charles' bar to question him about him being spotted going to a cave where strange songs were heard. What the? Charles beats them up. Of course they shoot him. Couldn't he just pretend and deny at first? Anyway, Charles drags himself to warn Beatrice about what's coming. His death turned Beatrice sad. So much so she walks into town and starts singing, putting everyone to sleep. Not sure why Shawl isn't affected, but enough to find out Beatrice is doing this to save everyone's future. They don't have to be scared anymore. With Shawl screaming this isn't the Beatrice she knows, it brings her back to her senses. She knows she can't go on like this and hopes Shawl will listen to her last song. And then, firing squad. How the FCK did they miss Shawl? Shawl stops them from firing the next round because Beatrice sings a non-hypnotic song. A very beautiful piece. You could say it's her swan song. Rip Beatrice. Claude's men now move out as they have detected Hank's whereabouts. He warns Shawl if she gets in the way next time, he'll just shoot through her. Now we see Hank kill off an incarnate walrus. Goo goo gajub. Sorry, I mean, good job. Hank is being haunted by those he has killed. He is then attacked by a garm incarnate FKA Rex Roy Brock. He is under orders by Cain to kill him if he continues to decline his offer. Hank gets owned and could have been killed had not the dawn come. Claude and his men are trekking to the snowy mountains. As Claude is weak, he is hit with fever and the team is forced to temporarily halt their hunt. Shawl treats him as she tells him why she isn't so keen on killing incarnates now. After all that she has seen, she believes there is a way for incarnates to coexist with humans. After all, they just want to live in peace, and the human connection is what mostly prevents them from losing themselves. As the scout reports of Hank fighting an incarnate, Claude immediately calls for an emergency meeting. Because he is still weak, his assistant, Sergeant Gerald Corlani, forces him to rest and will take over leading coup de grace. Time for Lisa to relax him. This guy is so rigid and complaining he has to rest while the incarnate hunt goes on without him, hence cue for Lisa to tell him about Shawl's initial goal to kill Hank at first. However, she decided to find out more rather than killing him. She could be the most mature among all of them. It's nighttime and Hank really slept the whole day. Still got those haunting dreams, though, and it's like the garm waited for nightfall to continue their fight. He is disappointed Hank won't transform to fight him. Hank gets owned, and as the garm tries to rip out his heart, trauma of death as Hank finally transforming into his incarnate form. The tables are turned as Hank pulverizes him. But the wilder Hank gets, the more he gets traumatized and then reverts back to his human form. With Hank's eyes lifeless, the garm is so disappointed and blames him he had no more dignity. Now he can only retain dignity by averting from the truth. He can't save them. Before he kills him, the soldiers interrupt. Those pea shooters can't do a thing, but at least it could annoy the hell out of Garm. During the intense fight, the ground collapses. Oh no, Hank falling into the abyss. We see Roy as one of those in the front lines during the Civil War. Miraculously he survived but lived through another hell after being turned into an incarnate. Because Hank always supported him, his words always made him feel proud. I don't know how Shawl managed to pick up Hank and let him rest in a cave. All by herself. Hank soon realizes he isn't in heaven. Because this is Shawl in the flesh, not a ghost. With the Garm slaying half the Corps, you bet Lisa wants to head out too. So does Claude. Yeah, everybody wants to have the piece of the action. Just say the right words. Need your help. Can't let my men die. Can't let Shawl die. That's it. You're good to go. Shawl tells Hank about the incident her father turned into a zombie and this time she shot him. Now she understands what it feels like when Hank shot his fellow incarnates. Hank laments how he has to kill his comrades when they were actually humans to begin with. It is the only reason why he is able to kill them so easily. But now he feels the burden of the oath and that he is starting to lose himself. To a point he asks Shawl to kill him because he wants to die with the memories of how his comrades used to be. But he changes his mind. Got to settle some business first. Gerald uses himself as bait to lure the Garm. Everyone encircles it and starts shooting. Gee, I hope no stray bullets. Even if this is Gerald's plan to sacrifice himself, I guess it's great timing for Claude to jump in and pump a few rocket launchers into the beast. Gosh, everybody just stood there and let it escape. Of course, warning from Claude to the old geezer not to pull this SHT again. Hank faces off with the Garm. Time to end this. At first Hank thinks of going down with him, but with Shawl taking a few pot shots and then telling Hank she will kill him if he ever loses his way so that he could continue killing his comrades and fulfill his oath. That is her oath to him, to let him live as long as he can. And so the wolf dudes duke it out in a beast version of Super Saiyan fight. Until Hank got his fist through Garm's heart. Fight's over. Roy so meek now. Was this what he was aiming for? And one final bullet in the head. Claude approaches Hank. After all the violence and blood tonight, I guess it's time to try talking. With Cain's base discovered, orders are sent to all squads to destroy it. Meanwhile, Claude is trying to interrogate Hank but gets emotional the moment he mentions Cain as his younger brother. But no time for this interrogation. Got the new orders, right. The leader of this mission is Colonel Martin Wall. It seems his side already has experienced lots of casualties and injured in trying to storm the fort. Furthermore, this is all just the doing of an incarnate using arrows. Hank can tell this is the work of the centaur Aka Miles Byron. He has a plan to smoke him out. During a night raid where he can't see, the centaur misses his target and thus will come charging to kill his enemies. He also screams during his fight so as to instill fear. The plan to lure and trap the centaur succeeds. However, they can't kill him, because now he is an immortal and can regenerate. So while we wait for the next raid at dawn, some few time-wasting scenes like Shawl getting restless because there is nothing for her to help around. The centaur attending wounds of his injured men as he was once a doctor, and the usual Hank-Shawl conversation. Yeah, remember the time when she first shot him just like that. Now can really laugh it off. The morning raid begins. I wonder if Martin can actually take the fort with this small artillery unit. Anyway, after a while when it seems like they're close to taking the fort, the centaur now pops up to do some killing. Yeah, a few men had to die first before the showdown with Hank. Flashback shows Miles was a doctor before a soldier. He was happy to have treated wounded soldiers well enough for them to head back to the front lines, but then there was no next time to treat them again because they died. He started pondering if there was any point to saving them at all. Then after he became an incarnate and killed enemy soldiers, this is when he realized if he did the killing himself, he could save a comrade's life. Well, he's got a point, but Hank claims his soul has been broken for some time now. Magliglia seems to have the ability to revive the dead. Once Hank gives the signal, the artillery fires all they've got at the centaur. He's got regeneration, remember. But what's this? Poisonous mist that disrupts his regeneration. Oh look, it also takes out the soldiers on both sides. Martin reveals this new poison developed after the incarnate Hydra's death. Claude is against this sneaky tactic that caused casualties on their side, but as Martin puts it, this is war and not some hunting trip. Then Cain comes into the picture and chops off everyone's head. This guy can infect others as well as teleport. He claims this poison is cheating, so his vampire abilities aren't. Then he kills off Martin and could have done the same to Claude had not Hank returned in time to face him. Hank realizes too late that this is just a diversion, because the rest of his incarnates are busy taking over the south. Yeah, the north and south once again are going to have a sneaky alliance to fight against them, so he sent his incarnates to kill them all. With the help of zombies, of course. Cain tries to open Hank's eyes that humans are the true beasts because they are the ones who created incarnates. So shouldn't Hank thank him for killing Elaine? Hank replies that Elaine realized her mistakes and tried to fix them. That's why he is trying to carry out her wish. Talking time over. Time to transform and fight. Damn, since when Cain has cloning abilities and hand blades. No matter how much Hank attacks, Cain can teleport and slash him. After dealing him a fatal blow, he warns Hank he can't even defeat him as human. So join him. Last chance offer. Of course, with Shawl reminding Hank he is still human, offer rejected. Cain puts on his maddest face and tries to kill the girl, only for Hank to suddenly power up and become Super Saiyan and beat the SHT out of Cain with this single punch that caused a huge crater. WTF. With the fort taken by Gerald, cue for Cain to leave. Next time, Hank. In the aftermath, New Patria has taken over the south and hence the north, declaring an emergency to recall all their forces back to the capital. Hank and Shawl leave first, Hank noting she has changed because now they're in the same world. Likewise, Hank has also changed. More obviously, he smiles more often, only because Shawl was there for him. But she isn't doing this just for him, she is going to follow him so she can keep her oath even if this means putting herself in danger of the battlefield. Lastly, we see Elaine is kept alive in a pod in Cain's base. This is the end of my video, so please watching all of my anime recap series. Thanks for watching.